Welcome to the nonprofit world. We are Art Connection Studio, and we're here today to talk about what we do and our mission. I'm Michael Galliburri. I'm an artist and art therapist, and I'm the program specialist. Introduce yourself.
I'm Tara Burke, head of clinical support for the studio, as well as the on-floor art therapist, and also one of the art facilitators in the studio.
I'm LaRae Johnson. I'm the lead staff at the studio.
I'm Benjamin Reyes. I'm one of the art facilitators.
And I'm Michelle Thomas, one of the art facilitators.
Let me give you a little bit of background about what we are. Our mission, we transform lives by providing art-based programming for people with disabilities in a professional studio environment. And basically what that means is that we have a good time all day long playing with art materials.
Basically.
Yeah. We are a vocational arts program, part of VinFin Corporation of Connecticut's day services. We work with adults that have intellectual and psychiatric disabilities, and we are creating a space where people can create art, sell art, experience what it's like to be part of the community, and learn various interpersonal skills that help them get employment outside of our space. So let me give you a little sense of say, how the day goes in the studio and our artists, and let me ask, say, some of the facilitators how that goes in the studio. Say, Ben.
Yeah, so...
Just tell it like it is.
I'll tell it like it is. A typical day in the studio, usually all the artists come in the morning, and not all of the artists come from VinFin's residential program. Some of them come from their homes, and as they come into the studio, artists are encouraged to try out any of a number of modalities that we offer, from painting and watercolor, acrylic. We were doing collages today. It switches up from day to day, which is a good thing for artists and facilitator alike to, keep us interested. And pretty much the day is split into two modality halves where, again, artists are encouraged to try different things. And somewhere in all of that, we kind of, art materializes.
Somewhere in that.
Right. In between the artist shuffling in and the music and the day gets going, it's interesting. You never quite know what to expect.
Are you able to, and this is also for you, Michelle, are you able to share your own artistic interests in the studio with our artists somehow and impart onto them some kind of inspiration for art making?
It is completely organic, where I think one of my favorite parts is that coming in the morning, even before any of the artists arrive, Ben and I will have some kind of discussion, what is today going to be? And then coming up with the flow of the day, the kind of, how do we want the day to go? And, as the simple detail is, what music are we going to play? And, some days we play jazz, some days we play the top hits. And
music is big.
Right, music is huge. And the artists get into that aspect of it as well. But when we come together, we bring whatever it is in our tool, our arsenal. And so Ben wants to, do some color theory, we're going to do some color theory. If we're going to do some line work, we do some line work. And so whatever our passions are, it's just this beautiful kind of marriage where we can bring anything to the table, anything to the forefront, and have that be the, course for the day. And anything that we can imagine, we can morph it into a presentation to offer the artists and include them in and have it just be this miraculous experience.
That's it.
And that's where we sometimes get ideas for what to do too, is from the artists as well. Sometimes an artist will be like, I don't want to do that. You know, I'd rather do pastels or some sort of thing. And so being sensitive to that too can make some great work.
But we do try to, encourage the artist to try something new. That's always in our, in our language, because someone might not feel like doing something, but we also try to encourage to say, well, we are about learning to be a better artist, and how do we become a better artist? Trying something new, moving, and maybe being a little uncomfortable, but you'll see, maybe you'll like it. And we've had a number of artists who were timid at first and then tried this particular modality and fell in love with it. And it became their thing. And you love to see that spark. You love to see that happen.
I'd like to also say that Art Connection Studio is kind of built on this idea that creative work and being together and forming relationships in the space is by its nature therapeutic. And I think, Tara, you might want to speak to how does that really translate to something concrete for people?
So the art itself, as we all know, is so therapeutic. And then if you take all of our artists, which that is what we call all the individuals that we support every day, they walk in the door, they're an artist. So it's not only giving them an identity as an artist, not by their disability, but taking all the different backgrounds, all the different life experiences they have, and putting all of them in the same room, and then making art. So there has to be a therapeutic base to that, because typically, if you put 50 people, 20 people a day is how it runs, in the same room, not everybody's going to get along initially, or you might want somebody that likes their own space. So the approach is, keeping the artists interested, like with the different modalities, but also respecting if a big group is too overwhelming. We're all trained in working with the different populations of people that we support. So not only is it then a big group studio all creating art, there's also a component that we have individualized therapy. So some of our artists that seek a little bit extra support, maybe they're going through a hard transition, or they're just coming into our program and they've been living at home their whole life and now they've transitioned out of high school, and that's the age range, is typically they go through high school and they transition out into our vocational program, or they've been living at home and they're in their 40s and their parents might need some extra support, so now they're living in a residential home, and so they have to transition. That's a huge life change. So they're coming to us, and we have those tools to kind of get them through that transition, and our studio can offer that, whether it be the individual therapy or just coming in every day, making sure they're getting out of their house, wherever that may be, and just getting there. And then there's the whole socializing component. And then, you got to pick up after your materials. There's that, which is always interesting. And we try to make it fun and, but respectfully, if people are having an off day, we all have that.
I left a dirty brush in the sink today, by the way. I threw it in there. I didn't clean
That was
it.
yours?
Yeah, that
Exactly. We're on that.
Yeah, it has a gesso on it.
But it's grown. So back to, kind of where we started is there was 5, I would say, key artists that were involved in horticulture and weaving, and that was at a residential home, and it was literally above their garage. They started this process.
That's how we began, about 4 or 5 artists.
Yep.
And then we opened up in 2011 with about 20 artists, and in the last 6 years or so, we've tripled. So we're now about 60 artists.
Yeah. And it started with the one studio space that we utilize fully, but we kind of divide it into different sections. So you have your painting studio, we'll have a fiber arts section, jewelry section. Those are our 3 pillars mostly. And then our gallery space is actually right in the studio, which is pretty amazing. But then we also then took over the studio next door. and then another studio down the hall, which is a little bit more smaller, intimate space. So it's great for the artists during the day and staff when they need some quiet time. They can escape to any of those spots.
In a nutshell, we've been growing.
Ever expanding.
So that's good.
And yeah.
Now, a studio of that size and dynamic with all that activity going on, I know facilitators are tough. You know, they have to, that's a tough work, you know, trying to inspire people. So, Ray, lead staff, what's your role? How's that all managed in the studio?
Well, I'm tasked with managing the studio to the extent where you guys are able to do what you do. We have a great group of individuals who get the best out of our artists, but like you guys have been talking about up here, is a large volume. The program is constantly evolving and growing, and in that growth, you need structure. You know, initially we are a nonprofit organization, with our parent organization being VinFin, but we get a lot of our funding through DDS. A lot of our guys have their services through DDS. So in that fact, is some expectations that they have for us and how we operate our program. That's initially. That's the paperwork and all of that type of stuff, making sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Aside from that, the environment, I take it upon myself to be heavily involved in managing the environment, making sure that if we do engage with some difficult behaviors, because we do deal with individuals that have all type of behavioral issues. But I try to do my best to help to maintain a therapeutic environment in order for the artistic expression could just flow. Yep. You know.
Now, do you consider yourself an artist or no?
Well, maybe not in my 9-to-5 capacity.
I've seen you paint.
Charcoal's pretty good.
I've seen you scared in front of a blank canvas.
Absolutely, absolutely. And honestly, that's the fact that I was able to get up in front of that canvas is just a testament to you guys. You guys inspire me, just like you inspire our individuals. Somebody that may not feel like they have artistic expression or skills. And you guys pull it out of them. Yeah. You have the ability to recognize ability and push people farther than they thought they could go. Not just with our individuals, but with myself too. So I applaud you guys for that.
I think too, it's a matter of finding. We tend to explain this a lot. Is each artist amongst ourselves, you know, we have something that'll spark. You know, like some bright light that you can get to come out. So an example, you know, these art pieces behind us, it's getting to know the artist, and if they perseverate on dots, turn it into that. I mean, if they like to work big, then work big with them, but also then challenge to work small and to try to figure out what that is about each of them that they may not even know themselves. And then bring it out. And we've had so many artists now come in, not as artists, just as individuals that needed something new in their life, therapeutic, but kind of a safe environment for them as they go through these transitions. Never have been an artist before, and we've had some that, you know, at the age of 40, pick up a paintbrush and holy cow, now they're creating these beautiful pieces. And not only that, but maybe some of the challenges they were going through at home during this transition, those behavioral things, they stop. They start to get, you know, forgotten that person even had those lower times, you know, and evolve into being guest speakers at some of our events or featured artists outside of Art Connection.
Yeah. It seems,
you know?
It seems that what we're doing, to me, is we're holding a space and creating together in it, and sharing in the joy of that creation, and building relationships around that. And in that experience, I think we just become better. And we're also transformed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I mean, we could have done, I suppose, microgreens or built furniture or something. That's another creative process. It's a different kind of process. You're supposed to hit me if I go on a tangent. But,
Right.
we chose art in one way because art itself has a broad range of possibilities that can come with the final complete piece. So individuals all making different things or collaborating together can produce such a wide variety of successful things. So I think the guarantee for success is just easier than if you're building, something that has to work or has to taste good.
And fortunately, the service that we provided have given all of our artists an opportunity to be a part of the art community.
Right.
With the work that you do, networking with the immediate community and extended art community in the greater Hartford area, we have been able to put our artists in position to integrate into that community as well, from being able to be showcased at different events, being able to be brought into different settings that in any other case they wouldn't be able to be exposed to. A lot of that is a testament, like I said, to the networking that you do, but a lot of it is a testament to the work that's being done at the program.
Right. We've shown at Pearl Street Gallery, Greater Hartford Arts Council's spot over there, St. Francis Hospital, Rockville Hospital, Stanley Whitman House here in Farmington. We have a show right now at Butler McCook and their little Etna Gallery. We have stuff at Amos Bull House. We've been to the Wadsworth Athenaeum doing a giant mandala. Coming up for the third time, we're going to Trinity College to be part of their retreat for people that have suffered brain injury. So we'll be there with music therapy and pet therapy and stuff, doing giant canvases like this.
Partner with another nonprofit in order to do the commission piece for their in their lobby area with the woodworking group.
Oh yeah, Hands on Hartford.
Hands on Hartford.
Put a giant plaque in there. That was cool.
And that's the benefit of not just the services that we provide, but the recognition that the networking has brought the group. We've been able to partner up with other nonprofit groups, other groups in general that have the same aim as us, that have the same aspirations for like bettering the lives of different people in the community. So that's been a great addition to being a part of the company.
Yeah, we've been getting more calls for people requesting the use of an image for their promotion or something, as well as for artwork. So that's all coming along good.
And the artist, that's one component that we haven't touched on is the, it's a vocational job site. So when the artists come in, this is work. Cell phones away, you're working. We might have fun, do dance parties, simultaneous impromptu things, but the focus is you're here to learn new skills. Obviously, there's a social component to it, but there's this professionalism that we hold to. They have handbooks they sign, and it's sticking to the guidelines. And at the end of the day, everybody comes together, they clean up the studio and whatever modality they were working on. And the big thing that we do is all the artwork is made for the shows that we have. So whether it be the out shows, but we also have internal shows in our front space gallery, and that happens 3 to 4 times a year because we also participate in open house when Hartford does open studio. But when the artists are creating art and it is purchased, then they are earning commission off of that, which is a great component for them. And if their artwork is used for image. So it could be used for an invite, and also the artwork can be sold separately. So they're getting commission on that, and not all the artists are interested in that component. Some of them are just there to be social and hang out with their peers, and this is an amazing thing for them. And then others are there to truly work Monday through Friday, and they consider themselves professional artists all the way. So,
I did want to touch on one aspect, Mike, when you were bringing up saying that this provides, this kind of form where we all grow. We all, it's a component where we all grow. And I think one of the most, profound things for me with this particular population is that this sense of no one brings in yesterday. Every day is fresh, every day is new. There is no, this happened yesterday and they're bringing it in. Every day is fresh. It's like that, you can create the day and make it anything you want. And I think for me, that has changed my perspective on a lot of things in my offering. Because when I come in, I know that they're not bringing in yesterday, and so today can be that fresh experience for them and whatever it is we're providing. And it's just this kind of back and forth growth that happens. And I think that's a beautiful thing, in that not only in their growth, but it also enhances my own life and what our offerings are.
Behind us, we just brought 3 pieces, rather large ones. This one is a collaboration. We often set about 2, 3, 4 artists on a large canvas. It has an incredible effect on the artists when they share that intimate space and play together on canvas. These 2 are by individual artists. And if anybody wants to speak about this kind of painting, this kind of process, as I understand it, this is my own way of doing work as well. It's impulsive, accidental, and then keeps building up layers until you start to project maybe some imagery in it and tease those out. Or I might start with some loose idea and build off of that. So how did these guys come about?
well, this one we did a lot of collaboratives last year, and one of the ways that we did that was we looked at the artists that came that day, and me personally, I like to work with the energy of the artists. So if there's a bunch that are on sort of the same energy field that day, throw them on the same canvas and see what happens. And not ironically, I picked certain people to do this one because their styles were very similar. Mm-hmm. They like to sort of, fixate on patterns and so awesome with the color theory. That sort of evolved, and what we'll do is find inspirational pieces online and then kind of use different ideas from each one, and then get this initial idea, but then it evolves into this. Mm-hmm. And then Ben, I'll let you kind of maybe talk about that one. That
actually,
and well, the person that actually painted it, because you work with him quite a bit. You have a great bond.
Or even on other paintings that he's done.
Yeah.
Kind of the process or way
energy
of working. But you probably can't see it at home, but the canvas has a lot of texture on it, and that one too. Mm-hmm. And this one, not as much heavy application. But that's another aspect that we enjoy, our textured paintings. Mm-hmm. So do you want to describe a little bit about the process?
Yeah, well, it's like we were saying, it's kind of an organic thing. Nothing's really too pre-scripted. And actually, the artists really enjoy that because, something a little more authentic. I know for myself as a facilitator, when you jump into a canvas, like you said, that fresh slate, if it's a little too premeditated, then that can stifle the interaction that comes about in the piece. Mm-hmm. So like a bunch of our other collaborative pieces or pieces where we kind of coach an artist, it kind of evolved. And the textured canvas is a big part of it too. We recycle our canvases.
What do you mean, recycle them?
After a given work is completed and makes it to a couple showings, and it's reached the end of its life cycle, so to speak, we will usually gesso it over, or sometimes we don't. We just paint right over the color and add to it. And so these layers start to develop, very metaphorical.
And the artists are okay with saying goodbye to a painting, because
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll be
That's a process.
That's amazing because I can't say goodbye to anything.
oh, man, let me tell
One of
ya,
the things
so-
that helps us is we photograph all of the artwork. So
Yeah,
that
it
has
does
helped
help.
huge because some of the we'll have a goodbye ceremony. Can you take a photo of it? Okay, get a printout, and then moving on. And if they actually are the ones that gesso their own artwork, it's a whole nother process.
It's true. Yeah.
So we try to encourage that if it's
Yeah, it's like the painting can be reabsorbed into the studio, but the energy of the previous painting is still sort of
Still
there in the
Yeah, it never
texture.
goes away.
Yeah, and it can stimulate the next work.
Yes.
So that's fascinating. And let's just say something about how this benefits our artists or people in general. I mean, we operate between 9 and 3. It's a vocational art program. We're working with adults that have intellectual disabilities so they can experience not only art making, but also what it's like to have, get some spending cash, experience what it's like to be working together, getting along, and then hopefully that, well, I'll say this for our benefit, that they're able to maintain employment outside, regular employment, individual employment. So basically, just really quickly, benefits.
To working with the artists on a given piece is, and I know Michelle's going to chime in on this, it's almost as if, I know I definitely feel this way, as if the artwork is a sort of icing on the cake, really, because day to day you're constantly working with the artists and not with a piece. A given piece will change or be recycled. So that social aspect, that doesn't change. And neither does the nature of the work. These little moments kind of arise as you're working on a piece, and somewhere along the line, enough of them may happen on a work, especially the ones that are more laborious. Enough of them arise where you start to wonder, well, what is it that we're actually doing? Are we just painting, creating an artwork? And for me, it's all those 1,000 little interactions, those little jokes, or the dance parties, all those little things that arise. The social benefit is the benefit that sticks out to me.
And even the artists being empowered. Like, there's so many times where they're doing something and they're surprised themselves by what they create.
And we're surprised.
Right, it's like, did you see, we're like, did you see that over there? And but then that adds to their confidence in approaching even something new next time or what have you. But a lot of that confidence is built up in the happy surprises and the created work. I enjoy that a lot, to see when they feel really good about something they've done, and they can talk about it a million times, and each time the joy is still there. And that's important, because then when they go to something else, they're a little more open. If you just make them a little more open, and a little, just widens and widens, and then they're blossoming as artists and as people, and that is all comes back around and it affects us as well. So that's a huge benefit.
I think that it should be emphasized that aside from being artists, you guys are very trained, very well trained professionals. Our program coordinator, Marita McDermott, and Latavia Walker, they've done a great job at assessing talent and building a team that is able to provide these type of services. A team that's able to bring out all of this artistic expression while dealing with individuals that have some very challenging behaviors, that have trauma that affects how they operate daily, and still maintain a safe and positive working environment. So I think first and foremost, Vinfin does a great job in training its staff, but Marita, Latavia, they've done a great job at putting together a great team that can recognize the recognize the abilities of our individuals, and like I said earlier, push them farther than they ever thought they could go.
Yeah. And it's like a machine, you know, it's like our ship. So without each person, the ship's not going to go anywhere, you know, so we all work together. We have the facilitators, and then we also have job coaches that come in. Amanda's our key person there. She couldn't make it tonight, but definitely without her, it wouldn't run as smooth either. So as you have a facilitator running, say 12 people, then you have a job coach to also help assist. We also feature interns that we help, and so it's a team effort for sure. And if one person has to step out with an artist, another person can step in.
We serve as individuals with some lengthy behavioral disabilities, some different behavioral diagnosis, without being too technical. But at the same time, we treat everybody like artists.
Yeah.
We foster a professional environment where whatever disability or diagnosis, I should say, these individuals have, once they walk through those doors, they're artists. I'm sure, Terry, you could speak more specifically about some of the ranging and different diagnosis that we do serve at the program.
Just generally.
Yeah, well, and kind of then how do they know about Art Connection Studio? So it all starts in their high school programming, and most of them are enrolled in, you know, local sort of public schools, or a lot of transition academies. It appears, you know, once our artists at that point are 18, then there's usually a transition academy. So from 18 to 21, they start looking at vocational job sites where, okay, this is the real world, I'm going to graduate. And then where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And some guys will go get a job at something that their job coach, their case manager has worked out, where they are, you know, working at different businesses, but they still need another component. So they look at ours, it's vocational arts. If the person is interested in art, they come do a tour. And they check it out.
We had a tour today.
We had a tour today. So it happens all the time. We work with a coordinator of that. So she'll work with the case managers. Again, Lorraine mentioned before, DDS and DEMIS population, so developmental and psychiatric disabilities. But our environment isn't for everybody. I mean, we can be loud, we can be overstimulating for some guys, and maybe it's not the right scene for them, or they're looking for something a little bit different. So it doesn't necessarily fit everybody's needs, but at least they get to come in and tour. They also get to do kind of a test day. They'll do a half a day, again, see how it kind of flows. Not every day, like a typical day, there is no typical day at Art Connection Studio. You never know, you know, all this energy is coming in the door. We have individuals that come through public transport. They also meet at our other facility in Windsor, and they'll take a van over. Then we have parents dropping off. So in the morning, there's a lot of this going on. And as facilitators, you know, key person Lorraine and Latavia are like, all right, this is how it's going to go down today. We kind of take it, like Michelle mentioned before, and go with that. So the artists that come in, you know, that's the component that kind of changes. You know, some days are a little bit more energy than others. Some days are a little chill, and you can kind of go out into the park. We'll take field trips, and
So we have a referral system where people can call VinFin in Windsor and find out if they think the person they know or in their family has, you know, would like the Art Connection. And would meet those criteria for the services, then they can call Windsor.
Yeah.
And they could also pop by and visit, and we like visitors.
56 Harbor Street.
Yep. And one of the things too that's
Real
helped
Arways
us.
building.
Yes, it's the old Underwood typewriter factory, actually. And one of the things that has helped us tremendously, I know when we first started about 5 years ago, like it was stated before, we had, you know, this one studio space and networking. When people came to our shows, it was a lot of family and friends. And it was like, how do you get the word out? Our website was just It didn't exist, actually.
Yeah,
There was no
for a
website.
while.
But then we got a website, and it was slowly plugging away at that with how do you connect with people? How do you get people in? And the fact that we're in Hartford, in next to Real Art Ways, in the community, you know, it's just, Mike, your key job is to go out and then network, and that's been building, and Facebook is a huge thing, social networking, and right now we're in the process of redoing our website, and just we keep growing, keep expanding, and getting the people in. We've had you know, the governor, we've had the mayor, we've had different people come to our shows, and it's just spreading the word, and it's just amazing how much we've grown just in the past 5 years. I mean, comparative to VinFin itself is from the 70s, right? So
VinFin started, in the mid-'70s
Yeah.
in Cambridge. Still there, Massachusetts. It's
the gateway of
Yeah,
arts.
it's big over there.
Yep.
In the mid-'70s, Gateway also started up. I think it's in Brookline. I'm not 100% sure. But in Mass. And they've been doing a similar thing. We're a little different. And we patterned a lot of our structure off of our, you know, grandmother Gateway. And so some of our structures like that. But I think having art therapists and art facilitators working closely together with job coaches is an interesting dynamic that produces, I think, a unique effect on our artists. And also partnering with other corporations or businesses or arts organizations has helped, because our artists also get to go out and be part of the community, experience talking about their work with the public. So that, you know, to see them smiling and laughing and, you know, dragging people over to their work to show them their work proudly is very exciting. I mean, I think we've had 40 exhibits in the 6 years, and that includes inside and outside. We just had our 17th exhibit in our studio gallery on Arbor Street, and we'll have another one probably in September. It's just amazing to see
and
all that.
The artists, it's a big night. You know, the studio's open all week, so we're also setting up a show while still running studios, which is a cool dynamic. We all have to work together for that. You know, sometimes Lorraine, Latavia will arrange field trips so that the artists can go out, and then we'll be like magic elves setting up the show. But as the years have progressed, we've included the artists more so in that process, teaching them how to wire a piece, teaching them how to gesso the sides, the backs, labeling. We've even now expanded to where they're typing their own labels, and
all the professional aspects of being an artist.
like what it takes.
know,
There's no elves that come at night. The show is
Right.
not put up in one night. Like, we need your help, and including them. And you know, like any business that first opens, we learn as we go, and we've evolved. And every show we say, okay, well, this worked. This, maybe we need more of that. Like this show, we need a list of all the artists' names, and it's just listening to the audience as they come in, and learning from each experience, and then just advancing every time. And the artists get all dressed up that night, and they bring their family, people that have supported them from whatever, you know, experience, and then they just glowing. And
a
if
lot of
somebody,
energy.
I give them the red dot, they put it on their piece, and they're just like, ah, get so excited. That to me is like a huge validation for all, like, you know, the months leading up to it. I mean, Showtime can be a little like, we got all these tasks to do, but as we disperse it throughout the team, it's gotten just more smoother and smoother. And
Yeah, our exhibits are a culmination and a celebration of what we've done in the past couple months.
yeah.
So, I mean, does anybody want to say anything else about, maybe a little bit about how you approach an individual, work with an individual, you know, to help them experience, I don't know, art making, or to take them through that process where they might feel a little intimidated by art making, or kind of don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, how do you?
I've had that feeling.
I was going to actually mention this piece behind us, this truck painting. The individual is new. And,
Yeah, he is new.
And he's a new artist, and we weren't sure what he liked to do, what his talent was. And I think a lot of us actually had a chance to work on the background initially, and it was just literally using lots and lots of paint and figuring out that he liked shapes and things. And then we ran a class of antique cars. Just randomly, I was like, let's do cars. And he picked this image, and come to find out, he did model cars with his family. He couldn't quite communicate that. Yeah, you didn't know that?
piece.
So as I'm helping tape, there's a lot of tape involved and sort of like helping and supporting, and he was able to identify all the parts to the truck, and I was finding this fascinating. Like, all right, so he knows the truck parts, and come to find out, it's because he does model cars at home. But you don't know that the first week of an artist coming in. You don't get, we get like maybe a sort of a little background, and if we get the chance to meet the family during the tour, then we can find out a little bit. But the great part is that, I think, as Michelle said, you start to find their groove and what they like, and it transformed into this piece. So it was pretty magical. I liked that. But
I feel like you had something good to say on the intimidation.
you just did an amazing radio weaving class too that brought in amazing energy. It was awesome.
My approach, just in general, is whatever the person is their beingness. So no matter what the day is, no matter how they're feeling, no matter what they're capable of, I'm not really so much honed in on that as I am, let's do something. And so, let's do something.
What's that saying on the door in the office? Something about have to start.
Oh, your
and-
quote
You
of the
don't
week.
have to be. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Yes. And so we're just touching the material, because I realize, as an artist, that art making can be intimidating, right? That Ben and I talk about the white canvas, the blank canvas, so those considerations are very real. And so there are times where we bust out the brown paper, something that's less intimidating. So for me, it's just trying to get through to the person, the inside, not just, we're going to create some art. That is going to happen if your hand is touching something and moving. Art is going to happen. So I'm not worried about the art. I want the individual to move and do, and the life will come about. So in any given day, it's just about connecting. I'm really trying to connect with that individual and what can come out of them. I think that's more of my approach. I know Ben has you have a very specific.
I totally concur though. Like it's we were talking about our comfort zones, and like that's us to a T. You could waste your whole life being comfortable, or you can step outside of that and just plunge yourself into this painting, into this artistic world where there's a little compass or navigation, but in it, like Michelle said, things happen, they emerge, and I think that's what the showgoers really come to see when they come to the art shows.
Yeah.
And that's what our artists love to celebrate. It's like it's like an art Super Bowl for us.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, as an artist myself, I've produced bad pieces and good pieces.
You don't say.
I do say I've made some. There's other words for it. I made some bad work. How was that handled? I mean, if somebody's like you're saying, just kind of the art will happen. So let's say the piece is going along, and suddenly it's gone so far.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's in life, right? We have good days, we have bad days. Things spiral, things seem control, and one day, and then one moment it's out. So our job as facilitators is to guide, is to help bring it back. It's okay to do that. That's part of the process. It's part of the experience. That's right. That's what the joy is. There are times where, you know, even these collaborative pieces, the finished product looks, you know, fantastic. The process to get there, that didn't look like that. You know, it looks like all kinds of things. It evolves just like we do. And each day is different. You bring it. And so when it gets to a place, you know, you feel it. There is, like we keep saying, that organic feeling where it needs to be guided to a place of completion. But the artists feel that too. They want to work on something, but they want to complete something too. You know, and it is our job, right, as facilitators, to feel that and hone that and guide it and funnel it to its conclusion. So it's okay to have bad work. I don't use bad or good. I don't believe that there is bad or good art. I believe there's art, there's creation, there's process. And when you are engaged in that, it will work. We are able to guide it to a place.
And I think that's the whole aesthetic component, which makes it so unique. Like, you have art therapy, which in art therapy, it doesn't matter what the product is. It's the process of getting there. And that's a little bit of a trick with our studio, is there is an aesthetic quality where we have, okay, this is a gallery. Now, you know, we're in Hartford, Connecticut versus like New York City, a lot more outsider art. We're trying to figure out what the crowd is, but also just let them be artists, and eventually, like, you know, trying to explain to them, well, maybe this show, that audience wasn't there today, but maybe next show that audience will be there, and don't be upset if your artwork didn't sell. And one of the big things that we support too is some of our artists have particular, like, I made a mistake. Crap, like I spilled paint or I did something wrong. You know what? There's no wrong. We used like to say, like, there's no mistake in that world. Perfect is boring. I used to have that plastered on the wall, because then with our personalities, you come in, whether it be calm or like, what? That's fine. And we roll with it and you switch it, and then it turns into something beautiful. You know?
It's interesting because we also have our own opinions and our own experiences as artists and so forth, and working with this population. And for me, I think there is good and bad art. I also think there are mistakes in your process you're making. I've had some doozies and pieces have fallen apart, and that wasn't my intention. But
it's a lesson learned.
But I think we're all in agreement that
it's life, and
Absolutely.
that's
just
the
like
thing.
make
Right?
something out of the trash that has come out of you.
It's a part of you. It's your hand. It's your voice.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes us unique as Art Connection Studio, is that we get together and have discussions about the process and about art making.
With the artists and then outside. And that's the one great thing about our team that maybe other programs might not have the ability to have, is we have a pretty close-knit team, and so we take the suggestions, that, you know, helpful criticisms, and it's always like, not, oh, that didn't work, that, you know, it's
No, it's all to grow.
It's all just, we throw ideas off of each other, and we say, you know what, that I didn't feel right about that. What's a different way I could do it? And then one of us will help each other get there. Logistical stuff too, you know, and if we have an idea, it's like, you know, Lorraine, let's get the field trip going, and we plan out all the steps, and then once we get there, whatever happens evolves. It's cool.
And there's such a strong subjective component to aesthetic judgment.
Yes.
And there's, you know, all kinds of cliches that go with it, like in the eyes of the beholder and whatever. But the interesting thing about trying to make it concrete is focusing on a piece in the canvas that you can't look away, but not because you love to look at it. It's more like, this is bugging me. And that's a concrete physical experience where you can go, maybe I need to subdue this part, and go through processes like that to make a piece beautiful.
And it's cool when the artist is then telling the viewer when they come to a show, and the artists are just describing how they did the piece. You know, that's always fun. And you hear them reciprocating what we've said, and then they're applying it. Or it might take a few times of us saying, well, why don't you try this or why don't you try that? And then all of a sudden they're applying it, they're working completely independent, and they're creating their own piece. And then their artwork is featured for other nonprofits. That's pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
it all comes together.
Yeah, I think our artists have a great opportunity to experience something wonderful, and I think we get to be part of that as well. And we're peers. We're all peers as artists. So with that, I'd like to say thanks for watching.